You started off this time. You seem pretty pumped. Let's go. You started.
All right. All right.
Pick it up.
Hey, everyone. This is 2 Point Stance. My name is Uriah. Blooper. A little
right.
blooper highlight. No,
I'll do
I
it.
got
I'll
it.
do
I got
it.
it.
I'll do
I
it.
got it. I got it. Huh?
You got it?
No, it's up to you. I don't care about you.
All right. Ready? Vámonos.
Me or you?
I got it.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is 2 Point Stance. My name's Uriah,
This is Julio.
and today we're going to be talking about the pass rushers that are available in free agency 2020. Free agency is a few days away, and we got a lot of big names out there that are looking for a team. Well, they're not looking for a team, but free agency
Teams are looking for them.
teams are looking for them exactly. And man, there's a lot of nice pass rushers. Right, I pulled up a list right now, and man, it's looking exciting. What do you think, Julio?
I'm super excited, man. Like I said, pass rushers is one of my favorite positions. I love watching defensive end and offensive line play. If you just take your eye off the ball and watch that, it's a lot of fun, at least to me. I know we're so used to touchdowns. We're so used to big plays. But I love line play. I think it's obviously, I believe football is won and lost in the trenches. Pass rushers super important in today's game. Guys that can obviously make the quarterback uncomfortable, guys that can push the quarterback off his spot, make him throw interceptions, take the ball away from him, disrupt, just mess the game plan up of the offense. You know what I mean? Like, it's super important. And there's some good ones, like you said, coming out in his free agency class. Obviously, there's not a lot of room. I mean, there's rumors going around, not as much as we normally hear, because the CBA is backing everything up. Nobody knows how much cap space they're going to have. What's the new rule? Are we allowed to, franchise and transition tag this year? Are we only going to be able to franchise? All that depends on what happens in the CBA and if the players agree to it and sign it. Obviously, there still will be football in 2020, but it will affect 2021 if nothing is agreed upon and signed now. So with that being said,
Will there be football this year?
Well, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
The other situation, not so much the CBA, but the CV-19, the coronavirus 19.
Not the NBA draft. They just canceled the NBA season. Not canceled it. They suspended it until further notice.
Yeah, we just heard about that about an hour ago. I'm not an NBA fan, so but I guess it's kind of scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To hear that and to know that we're taking such extreme precautions. But in this situation, I guess it's not extreme. And you're right. That's the only thing that could kind of delay this NFL season, unless the way 2020 is going. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Are we going to get hit with a meteor? Some people are predicting. Who knows? We don't. I don't know what's going to happen. 2020 has been wild. But since we have whatever time we have on this planet, there's obviously better things to do. But one of those things is talking about free agency pass rushers, I guess. If you're into football like that, if you're football junkies like we are.
Hey, but you know what? I mean, the good news is that even though they're trying to figure out when this, CBA is going to be finalized and everything, but I hear that Saturday is going to be the last day, which is good, because I think free agency, the legal tampering period, starts on Monday, right? So
that's correct.
I think if they get everything resolved by Saturday and they already have an idea, not an idea, but everything's set in stone, then man, there's going to be a lot of moves on Saturday, Sunday, leading up to Monday. So that's the best part of it. I'm glad the whole CBA is not going into the free agency, because that would suck, because you don't know, like, shoot, should I, that would suck for, teams maybe like, like the Falcons, or, like that need a pass rusher and don't have much cap space. Like, they're like,
Absolutely.
I got to make some moves, like, but I really want, we really want Clowney, I don't know. Do you want Clowney? We'll get to that later. But you know what? I think it's a perfect time that, Saturday, everything's going to be set in stone, and then we can finally move on and figure out where Tom Brady's going to go.
Yeah, I guess he's that one missing, that chess piece that's probably or that domino that's going to have all the other dominoes following.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's talk about who's going to mess Tom Brady, who's going to make Tom Brady's life miserable.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start naming some guys and then I don't know, I mean, you like to watch. I like to watch it too, but you get really detailed, and really watch the replays, and you follow how these offensive line and defensive tackles and defensive ends and linebackers, the trenches, like you said. You're a little bit more detailed in that area. So I'm just gonna start naming a couple guys here, and then you let me know what you think about them, and where do you think they can end up in the free agency. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Arik Armstead.
Yeah, Eric Armstead. Yeah, absolutely. He's more of I believe, like a 5 technique. Mm-hmm. So he plays the 5, and then he moves over to D tackle on passing downs. And yeah, I mean, he's great for that Seattle scheme. You know what I mean? Where you have the Leo linebacker who's like a stand-up. He's like almost like the Leo linebacker is almost like a 3-4 defensive edge / outside linebacker in the Seattle scheme, or what we call like the Pete Carroll scheme, the cover 3, cover 1 scheme. Yep. That's the Leo linebacker. The 5 technique in that is the opposite. So he's played over the tackle more than anything, right above the tackle. The Leo plays more like a 7 technique, which is to the outside shoulder of the tackle. And so usually in that scheme, especially in base defenses, well, it's hard to say now because so many packages are nickel packages. We play 60% of the game is played in nickel. But in the old days when you had a lot of I formation, strong, weak, straight up I formation with a fullback, a tight end, which we call basically 21 personnel, which means 2 running backs, 1 tight end. That base system would create basically, like I said, a Leo linebacker, which is like the Cliff Avrils, the Dante Fowlers, the Yannick Ngakwe's, the Vic Beasleys, the Tack McKinleys. You know what I mean? Those guys, technically the Nick Bosa's, those are the Leo linebackers or Leo defensive end hybrids, if you will. And then the 5 technique hybrids, which is like the Arik Armstead type, they play more of like up against a tackle, defensive tackle hybrids is what they are. And so that's kind of what Arik Armstead is. He could play in a 3-4 scheme and be an awesome 5 technique there, and then slide into defensive tackle or 3 technique tackle on passing downs. Or you could use him, like I said, if he stays in, and if he goes to Seattle, if he goes to Jacksonville, if he goes to Atlanta, if he goes to San Francisco, if he goes to LA Chargers. So hard to get over that San Diego LA thing. All those teams play the similar system, and so that's the role he fits. He had team leading 10 sacks last year in San Francisco. I'm a strong believer, as long as the kid has a ton of potential, immense potential, I'm still a strong believer that comes because of the attention that Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, and DeForest Buckner get. Okay? I'm not saying the kid is gonna bomb out. He's probably just gonna get more money than he should, and that's what usually happens in free agency. You got these, second tier starters, or I don't want to say second tier, but they're not superstars. They're stars, but they're not superstars, and they make it to the free agent market because the teams that currently have the rights to them kind of say they're kind of dispensable, if you will, because even if you don't have the cap room, you make the cap room available for that type of player that you want to keep. For sure the 49ers are going to make the room for DeForest Buckner. They're going to make the room to keep Nick Bosa. They made room for Dee Ford last year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, at the end of the day, Arik Armstead is available because there's other pieces in their defense that they deem more valuable, okay? And that's how he makes the free agent market. And it's the same for all these guys, or like I said, their agents or the player want too much money where it's not worth keeping them. And so Arik falls under that category to me. Can he make a good difference on a team? Absolutely, but I believe you have to build around him. If he goes to a team that already has defensive talent, I think that's where he'll thrive for sure. So for me, I think a great pickup for him would be let's say, stay on the West Coast and go to Seattle. That team runs the same scheme that he was successful in. Like, they have plenty of cap room in Seattle. You know what I mean? Seattle needs that kind of defensive end. I could see him thriving there. He could go – Jacksonville doesn't have too much cap room. LA has cap room, but they have 2 good defensive ends as it is, unless they want a 5 technique. Because Joey plays that position a little bit, but the Chargers play him a little bit more on the 7 technique side instead of the 5 technique. So it all depends on what the Chargers deem valuable. A team like that makes a lot of sense. I can see him go to a 3-4 team because that's what he played in college, and that's what he played when he first came to the 49ers before they switched systems. So I can see him going to a team like that. you know?
For sure. Okay, cool. We're gonna move on here because I mean, there's a lot of great pass rushers out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just wanted to lay that base floor out so then we could start hitting
that's
on what these
perfect.
other guys do. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Shaquille Barrett.
He's getting franchised.
Yeah.
He's staying in Tampa Bay. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker. Obviously, puts his hand down in the dirt on passing downs.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see any way Shaquille Barrett hits the open market. I don't see it, especially with Tampa Bay's cap space and how good he was. Because I know people like to point to he was a one-year wonder because he had 19.5 sacks last year. But even when he was playing behind DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller in Denver, he was wrecking havoc in a part-time role. Last year he has a full-time role and he killed it. I don't see him leaving Tampa Bay.
Cool. All right, Jadeveon Clowney.
I think the best pass rusher out in the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know the numbers don't prove it. If you're a stats guy, I get it. Don't talk to me about the numbers. Like, he's a film guy. He busts out on film. I mean, if you watch any game last year where a defensive player took over the game, watch that Monday night game between the 49ers and the Seahawks in San Fran when San Fran gets his first loss of the year. Now, San Fran probably shouldn't have lost that game. There was a couple missed kicks in overtime in the end of regulation by Chase McLaughlin that, end up backfiring and having them lose. But Jadeveon Clowney literally won that game on his own. Go and look up Russell Wilson's game that he had against San Francisco. He did nothing. The Jadeveon Clowney literally just messed up San Francisco's game plan. And we know how good San Francisco was last year. We know how great Kyle Shanahan's scheme is. And Jadeveon Clowney just messed it all up single-handedly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the kind of presence he provides. Yeah, I know he only had 3.5 sacks last year. I know Seattle was tied for 31st in the league with only 28 sacks last year. And yes, I know these stats off the top of my head. I didn't do any research. By the way, but like at the end of the day, like, man, when that guy, when he's healthy and he's on, and I know we can say that about a lot of players, but let's just say when he's healthy, bro, his effort and his ability is just game-wrecking. Just offensive game planning, game-wrecking, for sure. No question.
Where does he go? I know you want him.
For me, no, I think he's going to one of the New York teams. And when I say New York, I mean the Jets, the Bills, or the Giants. Mm-hmm. They have the most money. They obviously all three need pass rushers. If he wants to win immediately, I would probably go to Buffalo. Although, what's there to do in Buffalo besides eat wings? I don't know. I guess Niagara Falls is nice. You know what I mean? But, like, at the end of the day, like, I think if he wants to win and he wants to get paid, I think Buffalo can provide both. The question then becomes, does Buffalo want to spend a lot of money on a guy who does get hurt a lot? That becomes my question, But I see the New York teams, as much as they love, New York, they love creating media buzz and,
big splash.
Big splash. That's the kind of teams they are. I can see New York teams bringing them home.
Your favorite, Dante Fowler Jr.?
Not my favorite, but in the regards of, like –
Tell me who was your favorite, bro. Why are you lying?
In the sense of, like, remember, Dan Quinn – here's why. Obviously,
I think you just told me you would want him on your team.
I think he's a realistic option. And here's why. Obviously, Atlanta has to make cap room. No question. I'm not going to bypass that. We just don't have to. We talked about it on the Atlanta Falcons podcast on how to fix them. I don't have time to get into that right now. But the reason why is Fowler was recruited by Dan Quinn to go to Florida when Dan Quinn was defensive coordinator of the Florida Gators. Okay? Fowler is the prototypical Leo linebacker / defensive end. Okay? That's what we run in Atlanta. That's what Dan Quinn ran in Florida. That's what the Jaguars ran when they drafted him, right? Then he goes to play outside linebacker in the 3-4 scheme under Wade Phillips and Sean McVay in L.A., and he thrived. Yes, he was playing to all-world beater Aaron Donald. I get it. But the Falcons have a pretty good defensive tackle, their own named Grady Jarrett. I'm not saying he's in the same stratosphere as Aaron Donald, but Grady Jarrett is pretty darn good. And I've seen him get double and triple teamed for Atlanta. So I can see putting Fowler next to Grady Jarrett and still being disruptive. Now, if he wants $15 to $17 million a year, I'll be honest with you, that's too high. That's a price that I'm not willing to pay. I'm not saying Arthur Blank is not. I'm not saying Thomas Dimitroff is not willing to pay it. But I believe that that's a little bit out of even his own price range. If he said he wants to come to Atlanta, obviously Atlanta as a city provides a lot that people would want to be there for. beautiful stadium, beautiful facility, Flowery Branch, awesome culture that Dan Quinn has created. I know there's a bunch of people that want to play there, so I'm hoping that attracts them to the point where maybe a little less than $15 to $17 million a year attracts them. Yes, I would want him. And the reason I say that is because the way Dante Fowler throws his body around with reckless abandon, he's not as an athletic freak like Clowney, but they play similar fashions, which is like they're dogs. Like they're out there to just wreck game plans. They're not worried about stats. They're not worried about like, ooh, let me speed rush to the – like, no. They're throwing their bodies around, and they're like literally trying to mess game plans up. You know what I mean? Like throw bodies around the quarterback. With the quarterback, you can just see it when they're facing them. Like they're just uneasy because all you see is like flying bodies all over the place. If you want to watch game tape, and I know Atlanta's offensive line is terrible. Nobody knows that more than I do. Watch the Rams-Falcons game of last year. Like this dude he just blew. I think he had 3.5 sacks in that game alone. That was down, and I mean that was Fowler. And I know people like, oh yeah, of course, Aaron Donald was taking attention off of him, but you just got to see the way Fowler threw his body around. He was just a dog. And the reason I say that is because in contrast to Vic Beasley, who's another free agent we're going to talk about, who loves using his speed game, right? It just gets pushed out of the play. Every time he comes around the corner, the offensive tackle literally it sucks because you see it over and over again. He just gets pushed out of the play, and then the quarterback just steps up into the vacated void that he left. Boom, has time to throw downfield, and it's just annoying. But Fowler he doesn't do that. Like he uses the push-pull game. He uses the speed to power. He'll use a spin move. He don't care. He's just trying to create chaos in the pocket so the quarterback's uncomfortable. That's what I really like about Fowler, and it's why I will love him in Atlanta. But yes, I will admit it comes with a little bit of precaution because I do not want to pay him $15 to $17 million a year and set our team back even more because we already got big contracts to Matt, Julio, Jake Matthews, Desmond Trufant, Debo Jones, and Grady Jarrett, and I don't think we can afford another big contract like that.
Yes, sir. Not bad, not bad. You got Matthew Judon.
Matthew Judon, same thing. I mean, can Baltimore afford to let another pass rusher go? No, I mean, I would have to think he's getting franchised. I would have to think that. Man, Baltimore is so good at drafting. I get so jealous. I'm so mad that Eric DeCosta never left them and just like he literally waited for Ozzie Newsome to retire and he was fine with it. Like he never left Baltimore. It was like, oh, let me go get a GM job somewhere else. Like he just stayed, waited patiently, and it gets me upset because I'm like, man, I wish we had a draft guy like Eric DeCosta. I mean, Baltimore kills the draft every year. You know that. Okay. Like they let guys leave in free agency. They collect their comp picks, their compensatory picks, and then they go out there and kill the draft year after year after year. They did it last year with Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith leaves Baltimore. What does he do in Green Bay? Almost wins this Defensive Player of the Year. He was beast, But then what happens? Here we go again. Matt Judon's out there. But they drafted Jalen Ferguson last year. They have, I think it's Tim Williams from Alabama. Guys that every year they just replenish their stock. And so my question is, are they going to do that again? Man, I have trouble believing that they won't tag him. I mean, Marshall Yanda just retired, so I'm guessing that's a big cap relief for them. Although that's a big hole in the offensive line now because he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I don't know how Baltimore lets Judon go unless they could think like, hey, okay, somebody's gonna pay Judon higher than what we would play Vic Beasley, and somehow in that scheme, Vic Beasley gets double-digit sacks, and it is what it is, and it'll kill me, but. I could see something like that happening. Then Judon goes and gets like $14 million a year somewhere, and they sign Beasley for like a 1 year, $5 million deal. And he does whatever he did.
So your opinion is that he stays. Somehow he stays.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's so hard to judge with Baltimore because they just don't pay guys like that. Even though last year they paid Daryl Thomas, which is a little surprising. I just don't know if they can afford to let another pass rusher go. This year they have a lot of free agents, so I don't know how they let him go.
Perfect. Yannick Ngakoue. Ngakoue, right?
And Yannick Ngakoue.
There you
go.
He was getting franchise tagged, and he alerted.
I believe that's a sign and trade. I think they want to do with what the Chiefs did last year with Dee Ford and what Seattle did with Frank Clark. I think they want to get something in return for him because basically, at the end of the day, if some other team signs him, They most likely will get a third-round compensatory pick next year for him, but that means you're still waiting till next year, and Jacksonville has holes to fill now. So I believe that's why they did it. I don't know. I mean, they did do some salary dumping. They got rid of Jalen Ramsey. They got rid of A.J. Bouye. I'm pretty sure they're going to get rid of Marcel Darius. There's a lot of big contracts coming off the books, but I just don't see why they would pay that much to a pass rusher when they're in rebuilding mode right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Yannick is another guy. I mean, that's probably the guy that most teams want. It all depends on his price tag, on what Jacksonville is asking for, as in, what kind of draft pick compensation are they asking for? Also, how much he wants. But there's definitely a team that has no problem throwing $20 million a year at him. And again, I'm thinking about the Dolphins, the Jets, the Seahawks, the Bills, the Giants. Those teams with all the Colts, the Colts, huh?
Or a second-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts have a ton of money. I just don't see if Jacksonville really wants to trade him in their division. I think that's pretty stupid if they do that. I would want to get Ngakoue out of my division because he's a beast. The dude comes off the edge with reckless abandon. So he's really good. I don't think Jacksonville would trade him to the Colts.
Well, speaking of franchise tagging and trading, you got Chris Jones from Kansas City too. That we thought, the rumors are out there that we're franchise tagging him, but it might just be just so they can trade him, get something out of him. What do you think?
I think that'd be a pretty dumb move on their part. Yes, I know they got a high-powered offense, which they built their team around. Obviously Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and the boys. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, he wrecked the game in the Super Bowl, bro. If it wasn't for Chris Jones, I don't know if they make it there. You know what I mean? Like, remember the Chiefs fell behind in each of their playoff games, including the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like 5 times last year, the Chiefs went down by double digits, and they end up winning the game. And I know that speaks to their offense is so sick. Guess what? You need defensive stops to be able to get that comeback too. If you have no defensive stops, there's no way you're coming back from a 24-0 deficit. Mm-hmm. All right? So at the end of the day, Chris Jones he's another game wrecker that I think, besides Aaron Donald, I think he's the second best defensive tackle in the league. I would say Fletcher Cox was that in the Super Bowl year for the Eagles.
Yep.
But, I'm not saying that Fletcher Cox sold down after the Super Bowl. I don't know what happened there. But I still believe I know he's getting double and triple team too. By the way, speaking of that, the Eagles got tons of money too. Don't sleep on the Eagles this free agency period. They can grab one of these guys and just start wrecking house. I think there's no way. I think definitely Chris Jones is being franchised for the Chiefs to keep. They're trying to repeat, no question.
Definitely. Vic Beasley, we were just talking about him earlier.
Vic Beasley is going to be a reclamation project somewhere. I have no doubt. He's going to go to the Patriots, the Ravens, some team like that, and they're going to get double-digit sacks out of him. I'm sorry, I just believe it. Or just Bill Belichick would know how to use his skills better than we did, to be honest with you. Sure. Vic Beasley's not your every-down defensive end that's going to, destroy the run game and wreck the passer. He's not that dude. But you know what? I believe in the right scheme and for the right price, he can still be a productive player. It hurts me that he's actually leaving Atlanta. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Vic Beasley fan. I like him as a person. He's a great dude. I know, he does. Yeah, he's a Christian. That doesn't say anything about his football acumen in a way. But I just believe that if we didn't use him properly at the end of the day, and I don't know what it was. He's such a physical freak, but he did not play with reckless abandon. I think that's what hindered him, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? He didn't like throwing his body around. He played more finesse. And I think in today's NFL, it's really hard to be that and be successful.
Oh, good. You said.
You got to be a dog. I mean, you got a DWG, no, for sure. You know what I mean?
And just use your power and get up in there,
Yeah, I mean.
Just dominate.
Yeah. Just learn how to use your hands a la Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. You know what I mean? You gotta have more than one move. You can't just keep going to your speed. Your speed helps you. Your get off on a pass rush is the most important thing. But then what it is what you do off of that get off. Obviously, that speed makes the offensive lineman overset, makes the offensive line panic, and then you could use a spin, you could use a bull, you could use whatever you can to counter that, you know what I mean, to get him off balance. But, like, if all you're going to do is just straight speed rush and the lineman just has to, like, you know, with their, you know, benching 700 pounds or whatnot, like, just push you past the line of past the quarterback's range, like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? And I think somebody like a smart defensive coordinator, like a Martindale down in Baltimore or a Belichick in New England, I think they get the most out of him. I really do.
Dope. How about Bud Dupree?
Dupree, man, really came on strong last year. Came out the same draft as Vic Beasley, Randy Gregory, 2015 draft. Man, I can't see Pittsburgh letting him go either. Now I know Pittsburgh has like $700,000 in salary cap space. Like, I get it, but I believe that they're gonna have to make some moves, restructure some contracts. Like I said, Pittsburgh is doing just like every other team is doing. They're waiting on the CBA to be ratified so that they know what to do with their contracts. You know, that's why this free agency period is gonna be so interesting, because if they find this out last minute, like, these teams are gonna be like, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're pre-planning already. I know that. But, like, it's going to be crazy, all the moves that they're going to have to make and put in place to be ready for free agency. And I think Pittsburgh does what it takes to keep Bud Dupree there.
For sure.
I believe.
DJ Reader.
Oh, well, he's a defensive tackle.
Yeah. Defensive end at times.
Well, yeah, it depends, like, what scheme. He'll play the 5 technique, and then he'll move in over to 0. Man, Reader can ball at the I believe any position. He could play the 1, he could play the 0, he could play 3 at times, he could play 5. He fits a 3-4 or a 4-3. Obviously the Texans were hybrid in that regard. Reader could do either or, man. I could definitely see him going to one of these teams with tons of money. I mean, I think of Indianapolis. They need a defensive tackle that's that big. Buffalo's probably going to lose Jordan Phillips. They can look at him. Obviously, the Giants. I feel like the Giants have so many defensive tackles right now. I don't see him going there. Kind of the same thing with the Jets, unless the Quinnen Williams gets suspended. That would hurt. I would think the Jets and the Giants need more edge presence. Indianapolis, Seattle, if they let Jarran Reed go, I can see him going after Reader.
How about Washington?
Washington, I think Washington's pretty loaded at defensive tackle, to be honest with you. You got Deron Payne, you got Allen playing the 5 technique over there too, the Alabama boys, so to speak. I think Washington's fine there. Carolina, yeah. Carolina needs the question is, do they want to pay a guy big time money when it looks like they're rebuilding or reloading now? So Reader went to Clemson, so going back to Carolina makes sense. But only if they're willing, obviously, to pay that kind of guy, you know? I don't think Atlanta's going to spend that much money on a D tackle in free agency. Obviously, they need one to pair along with Grady Jarrett, but I don't think we have the money for him.
No, I think you need more of a pass rusher than a defensive lineman.
For sure.
Damn, well, dude, it's exciting, bro. You got any other names that come up at the top of your head?
I mean, Jarran Reed, right? Jarran Reed had double-digit sacks in 2018. He's another Alabama boy. Second-round pick. So will Seattle franchise him? Or the fact that he had double-digit sacks in 2018, but then he got suspended for the first half of the 2019 or the first 6 games of the 2019 season. Didn't produce as much when he came back on the field. Does Seattle want to pay him big-time money? Do they want to give him a long-term deal? Is he reliable to give that kind of money to? That's the question. Does he have the talent? Absolutely. People probably going to hate me for this and kill me for it. Like, I'm not a big believer in Alabama players. I know we have Julio Jones. I know Amari Cooper is good. I know Minka Fitzpatrick had a great year last year. I get it. I know all the facts. I just feel like these Alabama guys sometimes are overhyped because they're on such a dominant team.
Oh, for sure.
I've seen it. I'm sorry. I've seen it over and over again. Look at Quinnen Williams last year. You know what I mean? Like, are they solid? Yeah, they're solid. Their floor in the NFL is really high. Why? Because Nick Saban prepares them for that. They train in an NFL-like culture in Alabama. I get it. But when it comes to, like, all of a sudden winning almost every game you ever played in college, and then you get to the NFL, you start losing games, like, what does that do to a psyche of a guy?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not crazy. I'm so happy we passed on. Well, actually, what had happened was Robinson and Deshaun Reed had come out in that draft, in the 2016 draft. And I was just like, please get drafted before the Falcons pick. Please get drafted before the Falcons pick, because I didn't want either one of them. And they did. One went to the Lions. We barely ever heard from him again. And the other one went to Seattle and had a very good 2018 season. No question. I'm not denying that. But then he gets suspended for the first 6 games of the 2019 season. I'm okay staying away from Alabama players. That's just me. I know, crucify me if you want, but I'm good, you know?
One last name here.
Although,
Williams. He's a free agent, too.
And excuse me, let me clear that up. When I say Alabama players, I'm not talking about wide receivers. The wide receivers are beasts. Calvin Ridley, Mari Cooper, Julio Jones. You know what I mean? The kids coming out this year's draft. Just want to clear that up. Those kids are beasts. Anyway, go back.
Leonard Williams, free agent.
Leonard Williams, man. I was a big fan of him coming out of USC. Obviously, I like following USC. He was a dominant player in college. Went to the Jets. I mean, it's the Jets, so it's hard to say. The Giants go ahead and give up a couple of picks, a couple of picks for him. I would think the Giants do what it takes to keep him, just because they just gave draft capital for him less than half a year ago. Sure. So, to me, I believe the Giants have to, I guess, ride this out and see how he does. So either franchising him or seeing what kind of – I know he's going to want big money. That's the question. I know the Giants don't want to go, but I think he fits that 3-4 scheme very well. Obviously playing the 5 technique and sliding over to play 3 technique on passing downs. I think he fits that role very well. He's a solid player.
Heck yeah, man. So, but what do you guys think? You guys agree with Julio? You guys agree with us? Do you think a lot of these players, make sense, with those teams Julio was mentioning? Like, what are your thoughts? Drop a couple comments down below and let us know what you guys think. But, man,
there's a couple more that I just want to hit on real quick. I don't know how much time we got. Like, hey, don't forget the Robert Quinns, Jason Pierre-Pauls, Michael Bennett's of the world. Like, are these guys going to get big contracts, or are they going to be second-tier free agents that can really help a team next year? That's the question. What I really like to go back to is what Seattle did back in 2013. They brought in Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett the same offseason, and they won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So to me, it's what I think about is, like, can you build that kind of team? That's why the Dante Fowlers of the world remind me of Cliff Averill, the Yannick Ngakwe's, obviously Michael Bennett and these other, like, Aaron Armsteads. These guys, can they be the newer, younger molds of the Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill from 2013 to help a team over the hump? So, and even, like I said, even the Robert Quinns and Michael Bennett's this year, hey, these guys might be able to still, maybe not help you 50, 60 snaps a game, but 25, 30.
Still got juice left, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Quinn is another guy I'm really intrigued by. I'm not intrigued by his age, but I remember this. I don't know if you remember this. When you called me in 2011 and told me, hey, Julio, the Falcons traded up, and I was still at work because I was like, oh, the Falcons picked 27th. I'm going to be able to get out of work in time and watch them pick their draft. And you called me, and you're like, yo, Julio, the Falcons traded up. And I'm like, my first reaction was like, oh, they must have traded up for Robert Quinn. And then you're like, no, they traded up for Julio. And I was like, what? Why would you trade up for a wide receiver? Like, what's wrong with this team? Like, we've been looking for pass rush for years. The closest thing we had to a semblance of a pass rush is when we had John Abraham and Patrick Kearney for a year. And then Patrick Kearney blows out his knee. We don't get to see him, Patrick, and then John Abraham on the field together. We let him go. He goes to Seattle and has an outstanding 2 to 3 years over there, which still bothers me to this day. But anyway. But, I remember, telling you, I thought we were going to trade up for Robert Quinn. I love Robert Quinn coming out of the 2011 draft. We ended up trading up for Julio Jones, which obviously I'm not complaining about now. But Robert Quinn still intrigues me. He was very explosive. He was Dallas' best pass rusher last year on a very talented defensive line. He was the best guy. He still intrigues me, absolutely. He can obviously is Dallas going to try to keep him once they get Dak and Amari signed or whoever? That's going to be a very interesting one. Obviously, my hopes is that Atlanta can either land Fowler, Quinn. I would hope that we can get Michael Bennett on a little bit of a cheaper contract for a good 25, 30 snaps a game. That'd be awesome. I think that'll help Atlanta position themselves to select best player available in a 2020 NFL draft, which, could put us in a position to maybe draft like a Javon Kinlaw or even maybe trade up for an Isaiah Simmons. Who knows? If you can land pass rushers in this free agency class. Obviously, they have to make some salary cap moves to get there.
Man, well, Bro, you sound pumped, bro. You sound excited, man.
No, of course, man. Pass rushing is I love watching pass rushers, bro. It's so much fun. Like, what's better than sacking the quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Like, besides depending how talented the quarterback is, like there's too many talented quarterbacks in today's NFL, bro. We need some guys who can get off the ball and some guys that can bring the quarterback down. That's another problem Beasley had. He's just like he get there, but the quarterback's not necessarily going down. So like, man, you need guys that just, you know, how do I put this in a Santito way? Just assert their dominance over another man. You know what I mean? By bringing them to the ground. That's the way to put it.
Rubbing their junk all over the. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hey, that's a whole nother. Don't talk about my sack celebration on national TV here. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Hey, man, but shoot, dude. Hey, man. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, do you guys agree with us? You know.
What pass rusher would you want your team to sign? Obviously, like I said, every team is looking for pass rushers. I love the Giants' philosophy in the late 2000s, which is, hey, protect the quarterback and get to the quarterback. That's how you win games.
Hey, but
you can win games with a garbage quarterback like Eli Manning.
Cheap. Hey, but you know what? Isaiah Simmons and what's his name? I just had Deion Jones on the field together.
Woo! Imagine a front seven. Imagine a front seven with some boys like that, bro. Like, let's go.
Nasty. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you guys think. And we're going to be there for the NFL draft. You know, hopefully everything goes well with the coronavirus and they don't cancel that. We got our flights. You know, we got our place to stay. You know, and we're ready. We're pumped. You know, we're going to be repping our teams. And but free agency, we're as excited starting Monday. And well, I mean, I'm sure we'll be pumped by Saturday once they figure out what they're going to do with the CBA. But what do you think? Is it going to pass? Is it not? Like, I mean, I'm hearing that, you know, a lot of these players.
I mean, all they need, if I'm not mistaken, all they need is 51% of the votes. 51% of the votes, and this deal literally benefits like 65% to 85%. I mean, 65 to 75% of the players. Remember, the only players that don't like this deal are the superstars who are getting paid monster money. Oh. The other guys who basically are saying, hey, you're going to get a raise by playing an extra game and also a playoff game. You're going to get more money. Like, man, there's a bunch of guys in the NFL that are not making superstar money. So, yeah, I mean, this deal looks great to them. The biggest thing is, hey, can you tie our salaries to the salary cap? Also, in other words, get a bigger chunk of that TV deal if it's going to keep going up every year. And also, like, hey, can we get healthcare for the rest of our lives, you know, for risking our bodies, putting our bodies on the line? That's a big one. And I hope the NFL owners can come to a conclusion about this somehow and help these players out, because these guys are putting their bodies on the line. I get a lot of them are millionaires, and everybody's going to be like, oh, you know, they get so much money for that. But, hey, you know what? The military does provide, you know, real good health care for their people. I mean, not now, not back then, because obviously there's a lot of veterans who don't have it. But, you know, there's a lot of businesses, like I said, that are need to be productive. Hey, hola, Gabriela.
Ben. Sorry.
Little cutie.
You know it's time to go when the daughter's knocking on the door.
I'm pretty sure someone sent their mommy.
Yes. Hola, Julio.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Ya nos vamos, Julio.
Ya nos vamos.
Dile buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
All right, brother.
All right.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys in the next video, all right?
For sure.
Take care. God bless.
Hit that button. Take care, guys. God bless. All right, bye.